evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us tonight for what is going to be a wonderful book chat with the incredible Alice Aspinall. My name is Melody McAllister, and if this is your first time joining us tonight, I want to thank you. And if you watch every Wednesday or as much as you can, I want to thank you too. You can catch this live broadcast every Wednesday from Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And I want to especially thank Alice Keeler for giving us her platform for these broadcasts. Tonight, my friend Alice Aspinall, author of the award-winning Everyone Can Learn Math, is here. And just a few months ago, her first book, this book, was awarded top 100 math books of all time. This is just one of a few prestigious awards that my friend has earned, rightfully so. But here's the cool thing. Alice's books are geared towards helping young people develop a math mindset. So whether you think you're good or bad in math, or whether you think you're a math person or not, we're so glad you're here, because the message of her children's books are, yes, you are a math person. So keep watching so you'll start to see it too. Alice, thank you for joining me again tonight. You've been here with me on my first broadcast. You were here for the World Read Aloud. You came when you just released Look for the Math All Around You series just a few months ago. And now you just released a new book, Let's Explore Math, A Journey in 4 Parts. Congratulations on all you've been doing, as you have so many important roles, including wife and mother and educator in Canada. You've been busy. How are you tonight? And can you tell us what inspired you to write your latest book?
Hi, Melody. Thanks for having me today. I'm really excited to be back. I am always honored when you invite me back to your book chat, because I have so much fun with you, and it means a lot to me that I'm here. My latest book, Let's Explore Math, is a journey in 4 parts, because it is a storybook that has 4 little stories inside of it. So it's kind of like a bonus book. I wrote this book as a sort of sequel to Everyone Can Learn Math. So if you know my first book, it was a story, it's a fictional story about a little girl who thinks she is not a math person and that she cannot do math. Then she, through some encouragement, she learns that she can do math if she puts practice into it, purposeful practice, and she tries again. She tries different strategies. But I wanted to extend that story with the same characters, but explore some other things that kids experience with math anxiety as well as offer some strategies, primarily brain breaks, when you're feeling that anxious feeling when you're doing math. And so that's what I felt like the first book was missing, because the first book really talked about how to combat that math mindset, like that we can all be math people. So I wanted to take it a step further and talk about strategies to get over that math anxiety that a lot of us feel. So
I love that. Yes.
There we offer different strategies for brain breaks, including dancing, drawing, a lot of fun stuff.
I love that. And I was one of the few people that got to be a part of your focus book. So even though I'm not holding your copy yet, I do have all of your books. I have the digital copies of all of Look for Math Around You. And I love your strategies. What I love about it is you're coming from, so you're a math teacher and you're a secondary math teacher, but you're also an author, you're a writer, you're a mom, you're a woman, you're all of these wonderful things, roles, and you are able to see math and make it beautiful for us to see. And you put that in your book. And I am just challenged always by you. And I'm going to drop some links for other people so they can follow you, because you're constantly putting out great resources. And I just dropped your website in the comments. So I hope that people will, because you have resources and everything. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you, since you're here, and before we do a read aloud, because we are going to read aloud your book just a little bit, not all of it, because it's a little bit long. It's 4 stories, so we're not going to. But tell us about, what are some of the values that you include in your writing?
So in the stories I write, they're obviously math focused. My genre has been to write fictional math stories for children. And my other books are nonfiction, but still math books for children. And so primarily I'm looking to include stories and ideas that make people feel like they can learn math. That's the whole purpose, that they can do math, and that there is not a special type of person who is only allowed to tackle math, because that is a myth and that doesn't exist. So I'm looking for that primarily. And because the books are focused for children, I'm also concerned with diversity. Want to make sure that different types of people are represented in the books, because I believe in representation and that students need to see themselves in the stories. So that's important to me too. And also, being a woman in a math career, as you said, it's important to me that girls see other girls doing math and having roles in math careers. So you'll notice that the teacher in the stories is a female on purpose. It's mom that's helping with the math on purpose. And I think of these things when I'm writing my stories.
I love that. And, you know, I follow you on social media, so I know when you get a little upset too, when we are shown as like we're women and we don't care about math, because, you know, that's a myth, like you said, and you get vocal about that. Really upsets you. But I love your heart. And because I am your friend and I get to see a lot behind the scenes, that's why I'm so excited that you're here tonight. And I did drop this article that you wrote a few months ago. It's one of our EduMatch blog posts that has been widely read all over. But you mentioned everything that you talked about just now, about being a woman, about seeing your students and making sure that everybody is represented. And I just wanted to drop that in case anybody wanted to read that, because it is really wonderful about adopting those practices into your math teaching. And so thank you for sharing that with us. Let's see. Are you ready for your read aloud? I feel like we just kind of went through so quickly. Are you ready to go for it?
I am. This is my first read aloud of this book. It's my first one.
I am so honored. Yes. Yeah. Okay. I'm so honored that you are doing this.
I normally read this one because this is kind of a quick, and it's a really good read aloud story. A lot of teachers use this as like the starting book at the beginning of the school year, to set the tone for their math culture in their classroom. This is a really great one for a read aloud. This one's a little bit different because this book involves a lot more math and doing math. So I'm going to read one of the 4 stories, but I'm not going to read the whole thing. So when we get to the real mathy part, then we're going to stop and I'm going to show you the math experience in this book, because it is an experience and it's so much more than a storybook, this one. And I'm really proud of it. And it took a lot went into this, and there is so much to unpack in this book for you. So I'm going to share it all with you, but let's start by reading a little bit of the first story to start us off. So I'm getting a little bit of a glare, sorry. Let's explore math, a journey in 4 parts. And our illustrator is Alexandria Massey. That's the same illustrator from the first book. So it kind of flows really nicely with our character. Thank you, Tammy. I see Tammy's comments there about the illustrations. Alex is an excellent artist, and I'm really proud of her. She's doing awesome things. She is in art school, and she's fantastic. Okay, so our first story is multiplication. Part 1, exploring multiplication. And at the beginning of each of the 4 parts, we have some reading vocabulary and we have some math vocabulary. And then those words are highlighted also throughout the stories. All right, here we go. It's free play time in class, and Amy and Jonathan are playing with the foam blocks. Let's build a tower, shouts Amy. Jonathan is excited for this idea. He responds, great idea. We can make it a cylinder and then we can hide inside. Let's figure out how many blocks we need for the bottom row. Jonathan and Amy start placing foam blocks side by side until they form a circle on the ground. 14 blocks for the first row, Jonathan announces. I'll get more blocks for the next row, shouts Amy, walking away. Jonathan stops her and says, wait, Amy, let's estimate how many blocks we need all together so we can just get them all at once. How are we supposed to know how many blocks we are going to need for the entire tower? Amy asks curiously. It looks to me like we could make it 12 rows tall and we could have an impressive tower. So we just need to figure out how many blocks we need to make 12 rows with 14 blocks in each row, says Jonathan confidently. The smile on Amy's face fades immediately. She bows her head down and says, but that is a multiplication problem. I can't do 12 times 14. Those numbers are way too big. Jonathan pauses to think and then says, let's start by thinking of easier numbers first. I know that 12 times 10 is 120 by skip counting by tens. This means we will need at least 120 blocks. Amy still looks unsure. We can figure this out together, Amy, but first I think we need to clear our minds so we can relax. Let's try the breathing our teacher, Mrs. Garcia, tells us to do when we are feeling overwhelmed, Jonathan says calmly. Jonathan and Amy ground their feet firmly on the floor, close their eyes, and take 3 deep breaths together. They open their eyes and smile at each other. Jonathan starts the problem again. If 12 times 14 is too big for us, let's break it down into numbers that are easier for us to manage. For me, sometimes multiples of 10 are easy to do. We can break up 14 as 10 plus 4. This means we can try 12 times 10 and 12 times 4 and put them together. Remember from our estimate that 12 times 10 is 120. So I'm going to stop there. Let's see if I can zoom in here. You tell me, Melody, if this is coming through or not.
Keep it coming. And I'm gonna drop the banner so that we can see even more of it. Okay, all right, beautiful. We can see it.
Okay, so within each story, there's these I'm calling them math visuals, with the explanations of how they work through the math problems, both verbally in the text, but also if you were to write down the brainstorming and all of the math work by hand. And so all of these math visuals are included with each story, and they break down the problem and they use these different strategies to solve the problem. And there's still text in there to continue the story on. So there we go. I'll go to the next page. So I'm not going to read through this because it's kind of, difficult to read the math, but then they end up solving the problem, and then there it is. There. And that's the end of multiplication. So then at the end, we have this little, you have read 1/4 or 1/4 of this book because it's 4 stories, right? And then we go on to part 2. And so you can read them individually as just a separate story, because the next story now is a different setting. And we have division for part 2 with our friends on the playground. And then each time, because it's a different type of problem, there's a different strategy. Then we have fractions with the kids, with the mom in the kitchen. And the last one is money. And so those are our 4 stories. And then to continue the fun, in the back, there's a little guide for families and for educators with extension questions. And we have guiding questions before reading, during reading, after reading, extending the problems with different kinds of problems for each of the sections, and then some online resources that we can use too. There is so much in this book to unpack.
I love that. And I agree with Ches. He says, another great book and must resource for every educator. Congratulations, Alice. I agree completely. I'm going to try to make us equals again.
Hey, Rochelle. Nice to see you.
Yes, thank you everybody for tuning in. Rochelle and Ches and Tammy, thank you all so much for saying something. It always makes us feel good when you join us. So thank you. So first of all, I absolutely love how you combine math vocabulary with like real life vocabulary, language arts vocabulary. Like you're putting it together, and I think that's so important for all of us to do, especially when we're teaching our kids or our students, that learning is a process where our minds are wholly, it doesn't have to be separate. I'm not saying that very well.
I think literacy and numeracy can come together as one. And that's sort of what my books are doing, right? I love literacy and I love numeracy. And so we're putting them all together in these stories. And this one more especially, there's a lot of numeracy happening in this book.
Yes, yes. I love that numeracy and literacy. That is that's great. When I write about this, I'm going to make sure to include that quote because it's being literate. It comes all together, and I can just imagine having this, and I'm homeschooling my kids right now through the pandemic, and I feel like I could use each one of those sections as like a little mini lesson when I needed to, but I could also see them just going off and using it as a book just to read for fun, just because they want to read a good book.
Right. And I think it can do both. So it can serve as a story, bedtime story, but it can be a learning piece too. When I read it to my children, when it finally, like my copy finally came in and they said, okay, let's read it. I just read it to them before bed, like each story. And my son said, okay, and tomorrow we're going to read it again, but you're going to stop and you're going to let us try the problem before you tell us all of the answers. Like he wanted the whole experience. So it could be both. And then when you go to those exploring questions at the end, it extends the problem and gives you different numbers and different ways to work with the problem. So it can just keep going.
Mm-hmm. I love your kids. They're so adorable, but that they love math is such a gift that you've given them to see math in a very beautiful way. I want to do that too. So that's why I follow you. And I've been dropping your socials because really, honestly, this is a process. So your book is like the good pieces to have like right there. But it really is a process. And I like that, being able to solve problems, because that's what you're all about. Like looking at the problem and then finding the solution. And even your characters go through the struggle of trying to find the right answer.
Right. Yeah. And there is struggle. Who can just get the answer first thing right away? Like that's not what learning is, and that's not what exploring is. So there needs to be a little bit of struggle. And we struggle with other things in our lives and we don't think anything of it. But then when we struggle with math, for whatever reason, we were told that then it means that we're just not good at math. But normally we struggle with things, right? Like if you're doing a puzzle, you struggle with it. You go back to it. You give it some space. You go back and you return to it. You try it a different way, right? But for whatever reason, we're told that for math, you shouldn't struggle. You should just get it. That's not true.
Right. And I think of too, my own math life. I do really enjoy math. And my kids are finally seeing that the way that I experienced it, when you finally get to that point where you understand it's like a game, it really does feel like you just put together puzzle pieces. Yeah. And we're starting to see that at home. So I love that that's what you incorporate in everything. So and doesn't it feel good? Congratulations. Yes, it does. Like, and it helps you with everything in life.
It does. Yeah. And like, I've been trying to say more and more, like my kids do like math for now. Because they don't think math is just a worksheet at school. That right? They have the experience of what math is, and there's so many different categories in math and topics to explore and talk about. And so for now they like it, but we're not doing math all day every day. Like that's really important to reiterate too. Like it's a short conversation here and there, kind of putting it into something fun that we're doing. You kind of sneak it in a little bit, have a relaxed conversation about a math topic while you're playing a game or something. So it becomes very natural and part of your everyday life. It's not like, okay, right now we're going to sit down and we're going to spend an hour doing math. That's not how we do things. And I don't think that's how we should do things.
Totally agreed. And if you want to follow more of what Alice does with her own kids, this is for free. Facebook.com/everyone-can-learn-math. She puts her stuff every day. And it really is very just little things that we can all do every day to kind of see the math around us. And that's your series that I have, and I love it. I think it's just, I try to look for the math around us, and I do that even more because of your influence. So I'm so glad that, and I want everyone to kind of follow you because it's just great. It just really develops that that math mindset. I want to honor your time, but I really am curious, like what is the feedback that you're receiving right now for this book?
I've gotten a lot of really good feedback on this book from parents. They do appreciate the breaking down of different strategies. also the fact that we have a fun math book with fun, colorful images. Kids are dancing, kids are coloring, and taking breaks from math to do these fun activities to calm themselves down for a little bit. People are really enjoying that, and I'm proud that I was able to incorporate that into these stories. I listened to a podcast recently, last week, a local Ontario podcast, and they talked about the book. And they said they were so happy to see math done in different ways, happily, colorful. Like, they thought it almost looked like it could be used like a textbook, and it's not a textbook, but it was like they kind of talked about it like a new age textbook, colorful, fun, happy, but math was embedded in there, right? And so I'm happy to hear that, because what I don't want to hear is, people are afraid of these different math strategies, right? We hear a lot of this pushback on this new math. It's not new math. It's just different ways to approach math and different ways of thinking to allow our kids to be creative and explore ideas in more than one way. It doesn't have to be just one way. And so it's see people, people not in math education, seeing it and appreciating the different types of math thinking and the different strategies for brain breaks in there. And it makes me really happy.
Yes. Well, congratulations that people were like, putting your work out like that. That's got to feel so phenomenal. Totally agree about the illustrations. It really is a happy feeling. And I wonder if that's why, like, just knowing you're going to be on tonight, like, I'm just so happy. Like, it started last night. I was like, oh my God, I get to talk with Alice tomorrow about her book. And I love it so much. But I love what Linda said. She says math books for kids are underrepresented for sure. And I think that's true. It's so right on, Linda. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Linda.
Because we need more books like this with positive connotations.
Yeah, I think there are more out there now. There definitely are more than when I wrote my first one in, I think it was 2018. There are a lot more now, and that makes me happy. Of course, I want to see more and more math books out there that are happy, fun, right? But like, look at this. I got to show you this scene because this is like my favorite. Why can't I get the, there we go.
You want me to make you big? You want me to make you big?
I don't, can you see it, Melody? Like, look at these kids.
Yeah, boom. Yes.
Kids dancing in the middle of doing their math. I mean, like, what's not to smile about?
Exactly. And Chessie says, great job, Allison. I'm so glad that he joins. I know he's one of your number one fans. It's really cool.
Is a colleague of mine, my department head, and he's so supportive. And we are working really hard in our math department. If you've seen our presentations, mine and Chez's, we do PD presentations on changing a math class culture. Like, we're doing one on Monday, and then you see like how hard we are working to make the math experience for kids at any age, high school included, more fun.
I love that. And Linda says that she can see it. She can see the party. It's so wonderful. Yes. And if you're watching and you're as excited as me, and I'm really excited about this book. I cannot wait to have it. And I know my kids are going to love it too. If you would like to get this book, I'm dropping just the bit.ly. You can get it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can get it at EduMatch Publishing. You can find it at any bookstore. Do you get to see your books like in your local Target? Do you guys have Targets and stuff in Canada?
So we don't have Target anymore, but you can order on Target's website. You can order, I think it's on Walmart. And in Canada, our equivalent to Barnes & Noble in Canada is Indigo Chapters, and it is online Indigo Chapters for our Canadian friends.
Awesome. Wonderful. So you can get this book literally anywhere, and probably you'll see it and I think that's just the best thing, to actually see your book in a bookstore. So I just want to say kudos to you. Oh, no Target here anymore. Y'all, Linda must be, yeah, that's right. She's in Canada too. I can't even imagine a life without Target, but that's another day.
We had Target for Target made a very brief appearance in Canada and then went away quickly.
I can't even imagine that. That like blows my mind.
We're if you live on the border city like I do, we're all waiting for that border to open up.
Wow. Wow.
For Target trips.
Yeah, I do like Target. I like Target for their books. I do buy a lot of books at Target. And so I want to see your book there. And I want to say, this is my friend Alice, and she's at Target. But I'll take a picture of that when it happens, Alice, okay? Because I know this book is going to be well received all over the place. I hope that any teacher and any parent that's watching will get it. This is something that your kids will definitely love to read. Linda, okay. Okay.
we have to do another show another time where we talk about it.
Yes, for sure. I just want to thank you so much for coming on. And if you enjoy Alice, let her know, we're on for a couple more minutes, send her some love. But if you get this book and you love it, leave a review. This is how you show authors that you love what they do. Whether you get it at Target or whether you get it at Barnes & Noble or EduMatch Publishing, wherever you get it, leaving a review is such a great way. It's like our author love language. So I didn't ask you this, but I hope I don't make you mad by asking this, but do you have any other projects that are coming up?
Oh gosh, I don't have any projects right now. But you never know what I will come up with next, because you know me, I come up with ideas. You never know what I come up with next, and then I'm on it. Then it has to happen. But I don't have any projects now. I have some things I'm presenting at. Like I said, Ches and I are presenting at the Ontario Math Conference on Monday. It's a virtual conference, and I will be a part of the Build Math Minds conference virtual summit this summer. So I'm happy about that. And so those are the only things I've got going on right now. But no major projects, no.
Not yet, but I know you do. You can put books out pretty fast. I know you. So when you do, let me know. I want to know what's going on next. But congratulations on those.
This one took a long time.
Mm-hmm. Was it? And I didn't. But was it a lot different writing this one than it was Everyone Can Learn Math?
Yes, it was. This one was a lot more work. It was because the visuals and the math thinking, and I got way more feedback from people on this one. I had my focus group you were a part of, Melody, had 8 people, and all different types of educators and parents were on that focus group because it was important to me to get different perspectives. But then I also got a lot of feedback from other people that I know, people who know a lot about math, people who know nothing about math. And that was, on purpose to see if it flowed and if they could follow the math, even if they haven't done math since high school, right? So I think I got a lot more feedback on this one, and it took me a lot longer to come up with doing all those visuals. And I was right until the last moment, I was still making changes and tweaking because I just wanted it to be right, and really be able to follow.
Right. I appreciate that you're sharing that, because I feel like even when I read my own book, there's just a lot of things that I would like to change now and do differently. And I think getting to that point where you're like, okay, you probably will want to change something else, but saying, okay, it's ready as it's going to be. Yeah. It's kind of a struggle.
I made a couple last minute changes too. Bless Sarah from EduMatch, who made my last minute changes just with some numbers. I was like, you know what? It should be 12 times 14 and not 14 times 12. Sarah, do you think you could change this? Because it just didn't feel right. And she was wonderful, because all the people at EduMatch are amazing to work with, as you know. But yeah, I guess there's always something that you can change, but you also have to stop at some point. But this one was a long, long process for sure. It was very different. To incorporate all that math, you want to make sure it's right, and you want to make sure it's easy for everybody to understand. I guess that was important.
I absolutely love your illustrations. Yes. And I want to say thank you for sharing some more love. Counting with Kids, thank you for stopping by. She is doing amazing work, and I feel the same way. I'm so proud to know her.
That's
Linda,
Neely.
I agree.
My friend Neely from Counting with Kids. Thanks, Neely.
Thanks, Neely. And I think we're the worst critics for sure, Linda. We're so glad you stopped by as well. Thank you so much. And Alice, I feel like we just got started. Like we could totally continue this conversation on, but I want to honor your time. And I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight again. I know that you're going to come back because I have a feeling, just because I know you, that this summer you're probably going to write something or your photography is going to go loose, just,
Gosh,
I don't know.
no.
I'm just saying.
You never say never.
But for sure. But thank you for joining us. And are there any last words before we go? I always ask that because I don't want to just cut you off.
Gosh, I always say spread the math love, have fun doing math. If you have any of my books, let me know and tell me what you think. I love to hear what your kids say about them.
Yes, that is so important. And it really is kind of like our author love language. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We hope you'll see us next week. Again, we have a new author. And Alice, thank you for joining us tonight. We'll see y'all later.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks.